त्वं मम राज्यशास्त्रं पठयितुं साहसं करोषि अधुना एव मम प्रासादं त्यजतु.
In the 4th century BCE, Chanakya, a poor Brahmin, was humiliated by the Nanda emperor, the very emperor fearing whose military might Alexander's army did not venture into India. But this frail and penniless Brahmin, with the sheer power of his intellect, as revenge for his insult, orchestrated the overthrow of the powerful Nandas. He established in its place the new dynasty of the Mauryans, whose empire remains to be the largest Indian empire ever. But what made Chanakya the shrewd and brilliant strategist that he was? What philosophy or school of thought did he associate or agree with? Let us find out. Fortunately for us, Chanakya documented his study and understanding of various subjects related to political science and economics that may have helped establish and grow the Mauryan Empire. This documentation is his timeless treatise, the Arthashastra, which is available even today. In its opening chapter, Chanakya describes what he believed to be the 4 branches of knowledge. Aanvikshiki trayi varta dandaniti chaiti vidyaha. The first, Aanvikshiki, is the science of analytics based on observation and logic. The second is the 3 Vedas, the understanding of righteous and unrighteous acts necessary in societal and political decision-making, that is, dharma and adharma, are learned from these. The third is Varta, which is related to agriculture, cattle breeding and trade. Wealth and loss of wealth are learned from Varta. And the fourth, Dandaniti, is the science of law and order, which is about good and bad policies in governance, as well as the practicality and impracticality of endeavors. However, Chanakya asserts that among these 4, Aanvikshiki is the most significant and most beneficial for mankind, as it keeps one's mind steady and firm in adversity and prosperity alike, and bestows excellence of intellect, speech, and action. He glorifies Aanvikshiki with the words that Aanvikshiki is the lamp that illuminates all knowledge and the means of all actions, and is considered to be the eternal basis for all the virtues. In Sanskrit, Aanvikshiki stands for Anu plus Iksha. Anu indicates what follows, and Iksha means to see. Thus, Aanvikshiki means the logical understanding that follows from what we see with our own eyes. What is noteworthy here is that all of these 4 sciences or branches of knowledge are related to practical realities and logical thinking. And the great thinker that Chanakya was, he stated this remarkable philosophy in an era when logical reasoning as a common paradigm and approach to problem solving was non-existent. About 2,300 years ago, people readily believed in oracles, superstitious and occult practices, appeasements to deities, and so on, hoping that factors like fate, weather, diseases, etc., which were far beyond human understanding or control, would act in their favor, and they regarded the intricacies and details of rituals associated with these as knowledge. However, Chanakya was an exception to this. His analysis of knowledge was rather revolutionary for that era. In stark contrast, his philosophy and mindset were based on Aanvikshiki, which also formed the basis for the brilliant brainwork behind Arthashastra. Chanakya didn't entertain emotions, blind faith, relationships, and trust in his advice, but was strictly logical and shrewd in his approach. He occasionally suggests achieving good for the kingdom using methods that we may judge to be immoral, deceptive, or wrong in general. But it is this very science of logic that made Chanakya the extraordinary policy maker and astute statesman that he was. possibly giving him an edge over his rival contemporaries. Elaborating further on the science of Aanvikshiki, Chanakya says, Sankhyam yogaha lokayatam cha iti Aanvikshiki, meaning Aanvikshiki comprises the philosophy of Samkhya, Yoga and Lokayat. As we explore these three schools of thought a little more, we come to know that Samkhya and Yoga state three ways of ascertaining knowledge, namely Pratyaksha, meaning first-hand experience, that is, seeing with one's own eyes; Anuman, meaning applying inference or deductions on the Pratyaksha knowledge and generating new knowledge; and Aptavachan, that is, word or testimony of reliable sources, such as a wise and experienced person who has attained or generated knowledge by the above two means, or from someone similarly knowledgeable and wise. So essentially, these two schools consider knowledge derived directly or indirectly from first-hand experience only. Lokayat goes one huge step further and discards every other source of information except direct perception. Quite the literal meaning of Aanvikshiki, that is, seeing is believing. But what makes this philosophy that Chanakya firmly believed in relevant even in modern times? Why is it important and essential that we know about it? Even though we live in an era overwhelmingly suffused with science and technology, we often fall prey to superstitions, fake news, false rumors, hate content, and so on, and get immensely swayed by it. Whereas, what would be a prudent approach is to believe only that which we have understood and experienced by ourselves. It is this unconventional approach of thinking that makes Chanakya and his Arthashastra a source of profound wisdom and worthy of study even to this day, and it will remain so for ages to come.
Thank you all for watching this video. Many schools of thought have emerged in India over its long history of philosophical inquiry. At Glimpses, we are going to present ideas from various such Indian philosophers in a format similar to what you just watched. There are many more stories and ideas waiting to be rediscovered and told. So we will meet again in the next video. Namaste.